I know, I can hear y'all's hearts cracking from here. Personally, I was scared out of my mind. I was scared. I love it so much. I cried. I didn't like this one. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I'm like, what? What? How did we get here? Like, they get out of their car and when all of a sudden there's a huge explosion and then body parts like start falling from the sky. Never read that in a cozy mystery before, ever. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah if you're new here, and I'm so excited that you've joined me today. I'm gonna go ahead and apologize. Right as I started to film this video, my mic just stopped working and just decided it didn't want to work anymore. So if the audio sounds kind of weird, I'm just trying my best, okay? I'm sorry. But anyway, this video is gonna be all about the books that I read for the months, plural, of April and May. I went through the biggest reading slump of my entire life in the month of April. I mean, I just fell off the reading train altogether in the month of April. I think it was like a mixture of teacher burnout as well as a reading slump, and the two of those mixed together are not good. So I read a total of like 3.5 books in April. And then I read 15 in May. First book, Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This was a library book and I don't currently own it, but I was intimidated by this one, I'm not gonna lie, because it is a tennis story. It is very tennis heavy. It does have a lot of tennis vocabulary in it, and I went into this one kind of scared because I don't know a ton about tennis, and to be honest, none of that swayed my experience with it. I thought it just flowed right along with the story, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. There was a part that had me sobbing. Absolutely sobbing. I read it as part of my Pug Chooses My TBR video. If you've not watched that, please go watch that. This one is following our main character, Carrie Soto, and Carrie Soto is named the top tennis player in the entire world, and she goes into retirement, and all of a sudden there's this young girl that's stepping up and is trying to take her place as top tennis player in the world, and Carrie Soto is like, absolutely not. I'm gonna go after my title again and go against this girl. I personally thought of Rocky Balboa, like the montage, the musical montage of Rocky Balboa throughout this entire book, because that's pretty much what it was. But it was phenomenal. I really loved it. I really liked the father-daughter dynamic that was in here because her dad actually trains her, and I loved that. I loved that. So I did end up giving this one a 5-star. Book number 2 of April, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And I'm not feeling it. I know, I can hear y'all's hearts cracking from here. I liked this one. I thought it was great. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was great. I don't read fantasy though. It has wings, it has wings! I don't normally read fantasy, and so it was a huge shift for me to go into this one. And I personally did like this plot. I liked the story. I did not, however, like the romance with our friend Tamlin. I think that's a popular opinion though, that I'm not supposed to like Tamlin. I definitely will continue with the series, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting on this big thing that's supposed to happen and change my life. I'm waiting for it. And I'm optimistic. I really am. I'm optimistic. I did give this one a solid 3. Okay, moving on. Next is my half book. It was a novella, and it was the 0.5 book of the Kitchen Witch Mystery series, which is a cozy mystery series by Lynn Cahoon. And the one that I read was Chili Cauldron Curse. And this was such a cute novella. I thought it was so much fun. I did listen to this one. It like took 3 hours, I think. And it was such a fun read. So basically this one is following our main character, Mia, and Mia is going to visit her grandmother who needs her help. She needs her help with setting up her local food bank, and because it's kind of been out of business for a while, and so I think they want to get it running again, and so she needs Mia's help to do that, and a dead body turns up in the food bank. Would it be a cozy mystery without a dead body in a very, very inappropriate place? And the last book I read in April was my new favorite cozy mystery of all time, and that is Up to No Good by Linda Riley. I cannot tell you how many times that I just wanted a grilled cheese and couldn't have one because I didn't have the things to make a grilled cheese. And can I tell you how frustrating that is? So this one is following our main character, Carly, and Carly is running her grilled cheese shop, which let's just take a minute for that. I would be there every week. And all of a sudden, a dead body turns up in her parking lot. And some suspicions are raised from her and her coworkers and like what they had to do with this murder. I absolutely loved this one so much. I loved it so much. So much so that I had to buy the next 2 books in the series, as well as message the author and say, hey, like, are you going to continue this series? And she said yes. Okay, so we're now moving into our May books. And like I said, I literally went from reading 4 books in the month of April to 15 in the month of May. So reading slumps are a real thing, my friends. They're very real. And at the beginning of the month, I was still kind of like coming out of that slump stage. So I actually picked up a Goosebumps book. I picked this up for Bookathon, which is a spooky middle grade readathon, and I participated in it last year, but I think school and everything just kind of got in the way. I didn't really get to participate this year, but I did pick up this book, and it is One Day at Horrorland by R.L. Stine. So I am already a lover of the Goosebumps original series, and there is just something about his Horrorland series that just catches my eye every freaking time. I'm so drawn to that series, and this particular book in the original Goosebumps series is the first book leading up into his Horrorland. So I had to read this one in order to go on into that series. I just said series like 84 times. Anyway, all of the Goosebumps books are so much fun. It's not like you're gonna think about it for days on end after you read it, but you're just gonna have a fun time reading them. Right now is when things just started getting good, because I discovered James Patterson. More specifically, his Woman's Murder Club series. You've seen James Patterson literally everywhere. I'm sure you've seen him on the Goodwill shelves, the Salvation Army shelves, your grandma's bookshelves. I'm sure you've seen him everywhere. And I've never really been drawn to any of his thrillers before. Until now. I am so obsessed with this series. So the cool thing about these books is that in each title it has a number, and it's numbered like 1 to 23, I think. And the first one is called First to Die. Now, I didn't just read this one. I didn't just read 1. I didn't just read 2. I didn't just read 3. I didn't just read 4. But I read 5. I read the first 5 books in this series. I'm obsessed. I won't go a ton into the books that I've read because they're pretty much the same kind of format. So basically, in the first book, we're following our main character, Lindsay Boxer. And Lindsay Boxer is a cop, and she's following this case, and she meets these other women that are a part of this case as well. So one is a medical examiner, the other one is like from the press. So somehow they're all connected into this case, and they just kind of start talking to each other, and then next thing you know, they're becoming like this big friend group, and they start meeting after hours to just be friends and to talk to each other and just talk about crime and in general. I will make myself very clear, I did not read these physically. I listened to them because I don't even know why there's physical books available when there's audiobooks available for these, because the experience of physically reading it is nowhere near as good as listening to it. It honestly feels like you're listening to a really good crime podcast at 2 times speed. It's so good. It's so good. Guys, if you get any of my recommendations today, please let it be this one. Now, I know your next question is going to be, Hannah, do I have to read these in order? I'm going to say yes. Now, there's no rule saying that you have to read these in order. But he did write these chronologically because the next book in the series takes place right where the last book left off. So you kind of miss a lot if you're not following these characters chronologically. My favorite thing about these, though, is that the fact that you're following the case and you're following the crime that's happening, but you're also like so invested in these characters because, I mean, you read so much about them and you start becoming part of their lives. I love you, James Patterson. We're doing you a disservice, my friend. The next story that I picked up was The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth. This was my second Sally Hepworth that I've ever read, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I gave it a solid 4 just because I thought that this was so bone-chilling. Personally, I was scared out of my mind. I was scared. This is following 2 sisters, Fern and Rose, and from their childhood they had a really, really rough life. And it talks about their mom and everything that goes down with their mom and everything. And from a very young age they had it very rough. And they learned through that to kind of depend on each other, and it's almost becoming depending on each other too much. I'll leave it at that. It was really good. I was reading this late at night and I kind of regretted that because I was freaked out. Next one is Buried in a Good Book by Tamra Berry. I do own some of these, but I'm just too lazy to pick them off my shelf. They're just all cozy up there. I don't want to bother them. I didn't really know what it was about going in. I just knew that there was an explosion and Bigfoot. And really, like, what else do you need to know? So this one is following our main character, Tess, and her daughter, Gertrude, as they go to their remote cabin in the woods because Tess has inherited it from her late grandfather. So they're kind of moving in there temporarily. And when all of a sudden, like they get out of their car, and when all of a sudden there's a huge explosion, and then body parts, like, start falling from the sky. Never read that in a cozy mystery before. Ever. So I did end up giving this one a solid 3 stars. There was a couple things in here that I didn't appreciate. One thing that I just really did not like about this is that the other characters in this story treated Tess terribly. Terribly, y'all. And there's a sheriff. There's kind of like a hinted romance between the sheriff and Tess in here, and I don't think that's a spoiler because literally every other cozy mystery does that. But, and he was kind of a jerk. He was kind of a jerk. And like, Gertrude? Okay, I get the teenage angst. I get it. And it was funny in the beginning. But I was like... The next book was, you guessed it, a hockey romance. Y'all, I can eat hockey romances for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Serve them to me with a fork and a spoon. Love me a good hockey romance. So the hockey romance that I read was Scoring Chance by Tegan Hunter. This is number 6 in her series of the Carolina Comets. I didn't know it was book 6, or I wouldn't have read it. I would have started with the first one because I hate reading series out of order. Literally, that's my pet peeve. Like, reading series out of order. I can't do that. I don't know if that's the teacher in me. I just can't. I can't do it out of order, but I did. I didn't know. I wasn't aware. But this one was about Scout and Miller, and this is a enemies to friends to lovers with a little bit of fake dating in there. Like, this had a lot of tropes in it. I liked it. I gave it a solid 3 stars just because it was a really fun time. It was really cute. It was really sweet. Honestly, there was one thing that just irritated the crap out of me, though. Was, I think Miller was 24 and Scout was 28. And these cats talk like they were 12. Okay, I'm pretty sure I didn't talk this way in high school. Like, these people did not interact like they were almost 30. And that really got old after a while because it was almost very jarring to read their dialogue and then go into like a spicy scene. And I'm like, what? What? How did we get here? Y'all, here's another cozy. Deserts, Driving, and Derelicts. This is number 2 in the Camper and Criminal series. If you've not read this series, again, this is another one that you just need to listen to. I don't know why there's physical books out there when there is literal pieces of art out there to listen to. This series in general is about Mae West, and Mae's ex-husband actually like did a lot of different corrupt financial things. He owned an RV park, and it ended up like backfiring on him, and literally the only thing he had left to his name was the RV park. He ends up going to jail. Mae is like stuck trying to figure out what the heck am I supposed to do. So in the first book, she kind of goes back to this RV park and she tries to right his wrongs. And so she meets the people of this RV park and tries to make friends with them and tries to do them good. This series is so good. This is another audiobook that I listened to, and it's 2 parts sugar, 1 part murder. This is number 1 in the Baker Street mystery series, and I thought this was also a really good time. I gave this one 3 stars also, because I just think that some of the books that I read this month were good. They just weren't great, you know? So this one is following our main character, Maddie, and Maddie's aunt has just passed away, and she found out that her aunt actually left her bakery. And so she kind of packs up her life and moves in and starts opening this bakery when all of a sudden there's a murder. Who predicted that? I did. The main thing I liked about this one was the confectionery talk and like all the bakery talk. I personally really liked this one. What do you know? Another cozy. This is Stamped Out. This is the first book in a mail carrier cozy mystery series. I didn't like this one. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And it's by Tanya Kappas, and I feel like I've read by her before. She literally wrote the Camper and Criminal series that I literally just talked about. I didn't like this one. I like her Camper series, but I didn't like this one. And it sounds so cute. It's about a mail carrier who like goes around and solves mysteries. I think that's the problem I had with it. But she like became a full-blown detective. And I have a problem sometimes with sleuths. Like if they just, let's be real. Let's be real. Okay. Disclaimer on this next one. I am not recommending you this book. Not recommending it to you in the slightest. I'm just here to tell you that I read it. Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry. If you've ever read this one, I'm curious to know your thoughts on it. But if you've not read this one, please don't. This horrified me. I mean, this destroyed me in ways that a book has not in a very long time. I don't think that I've never been so horrified by a book. And I read Notes on an Execution, and I've read slashers, and I've read all sorts of stuff. Never in my life have I ever been so horrified and just completely and utterly speechless about this one. I didn't even rate it on Goodreads. I just left it blank. I'm being serious when I say this to you. I've been the one on the other side of the phone, like watching and being like, oh yeah, that makes me want to read it even more. Like she's saying not to, but I want to read it. I'm telling you guys, don't. And then I fell off the deep end. The love that I have for these books, and I'm not even finished yet. I've read the first two and the first two novellas. There's 9 books in this series, and I'm already losing my mind over it. Shatter Me by Tara Mafi. I'll try to make it short and sweet. This is everything. That's the review. If you've never heard of the Shatter Me series before, first of all, I'm very surprised because it is a very old series and it's a very hyped series. And I'm very surprised if you've not heard about it before, but my friend, let me introduce you. This book is following our main character, Juliet. And Juliet, from the time she was a baby, has had a lethal touch. So if you touch her bare skin, you will die. And she found this out the hard way by accidentally touching a child and killing him. And so she's been locked up in this asylum ever since. And this guy, just this guy, this random guy named Aaron Warner, I guess that's his name, takes her out of that asylum and locks her up as like his little project that he keeps an eye on, and he's going to use her. This is a dystopian novel, so it does discuss like different movements in different branches of government. So for example, Warner's movement is called the Reestablishment, and they're trying to basically rid the world of toxins and different things, like just trying to redo the world, I guess. So, and then obviously you've got the other end that's like, absolutely not. He's trying to use Juliet's power to be a help to the Reestablishment. Just take a minute. This series is made up of 9 books, and there's novellas in between each book. So there's Shatter Me, Destroy Me, which is book 1.5. This is in Warner's point of view. And then you go into the second book, Unravel Me, which is my favorite book so far. This is going to be really hard to beat. Obviously, like, I don't know if you could see how good of a time I had with it, but I was literally sharing quotes on Instagram like it was my job. And then you go into book 2.5, which is Fracture Me, and this is in Adam's point of view. Just what I thought. Trash. I don't have the words to describe to you how much that series means to me. And I'm not even done. I'm not even done. This was very chaotic, and I'm so hoping that you made it to the end of the video because that's all the books I read. I read a total of 15 plus 4, which is 19 in 2 months. So thank you so much for joining me today and listening to me rant about so many different kinds of books today. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like. And subscribe if you're not already, because you obviously want to hang out with me, right? And by the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, I am also the Teacher's TBR over on Instagram. Please go visit me over there. It's usually where I share all my craziness on a daily basis. All right, my friends, I will see you next time. Bye!